everyone and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. Today we're going to be talking about books. I love books, I read every single day without fail, and it's just not something I talk about much on my channel, so I thought let's change that. In this video I'm going to be going through what I'm currently reading and my thoughts on it so far, what's on my TBR for the rest of the year because there's only 2 months left. Some reviews of books I've recently read because I have read some really good ones. Some hacks that I've found to make more time for reading if you have a busy schedule, because you know when you're in a good book and you just are obsessed with it but you're struggling to find time, I've got you. I recently got a Kindle, so I'm going to be talking you through how I get on with it, why I love it, and just give you the lowdown. Scratch on her face, so we've had to put the cone on her. If you see her with a big blue cone on, she's okay, we're just keeping her inside for a few days. Anyway, you're not here for me to talk about my cat. So, talk about the book I'm currently reading, which is the book of Azreal. Now, I'm not very far through this at all, I don't think. I am 14% of the way through. I went into this book completely blind. I didn't know what it was about, I just kind of assumed it's about the book of Azreal. And so far I like the female main character. Obviously this is like a fantasy. This is quite like it seems like quite a serious, more sinister one. I'm weirdly quite enjoying. At the minute I've been reading before I go to bed. When I started reading last night I was really confused of what I'd read the day before, so I think I need to go back a few pages and just rejig my memory. There's a lot of good backstory so you understand where you are, like it's good storytelling, it's fast paced, a lot's happened in 14%. I'm enjoying the writing style. I've never read something by this author before, Amber Nicole. I'm excited to see how it carries on, and there's I think 3 books in this series. When I went to a book event with Headline Books back in the summer, I've got the 2nd and 3rd book in the series, although this was on Kindle Unlimited, so they're quite chunky books. I need to decide whether I want to read the physical book or read it on my Kindle. So my TBR for the rest of the year, the main 2 booktubers the main 2 booktubers I watch are Emmy Rosen and Sarah Caroli. So when there's book recommendations, it's usually from the 2 of them. Let's go on my Goodreads. I have all my books that I want to read in there. The 6 of Crows series always sounded quite interesting to me, and I believe Emmy Rosen read it recently. Metal Slinger, which is on Kindle Unlimited. Randomly want to read 1984 by George Orwell because I've heard good things about it. I've heard a lot about On Dark Window and I've got that downloaded on my Kindle, but I just haven't started it yet. I know we're in November, but it's still like wintry, kind of spooky season-ish. I do want to read Bride, but I've had it on my bookshelf for ages and I just don't know if I'll get around to it. I've had a lot of people talk about the Magnolia Park series. I will give it a go, but it's just not on my like initial radar. I literally just added it because I've realised what it was. The Boys of Tommen, I think that's how you say it. I think it's by, is it Chloe Walsh? I heard like a snippet of the audiobook and I was like, do I want to listen to this in audiobook or do I want to read it? But that is a recent addition, so maybe after I've finished the Book of Azreal I'll start that series. So because I've been in like hardcore fantasy books for quite a while now, so maybe I'll dip my toe into like, because it's not fantasy but it's like YA romance, I think. Don't quote me. But Quicksilver, how did I forget Quicksilver? I've heard so many good things about it and it's downloaded, but I just, again, haven't read it yet. Moving on to recent reviews of books that I've recently read. So I recently finished the whole Throne of Glass series and it took me quite a while, but obviously there's 5, 6, 7, 8 books. There's one thing about me as a reader, I'm not switched on enough to be able to remember what happens in each of them, and I don't really remember my ratings for stuff. I don't annotate books, but like I just get fully immersed in them and enjoy them, if that makes sense. I don't know, I hope there's other readers out there that are like that, because I'd love to be the person that sits and annotates and thinks about them like analytically almost. My brain just doesn't work like that, so I'm not going to pretend it does. So I'm just going to kind of like rate this series as a whole, which may be criminal to some people, so I'm really sorry. I guess it would have been different if I'd have been filming as I went whilst reading the books. I do remember loving the original one, so just Throne of Glass. Assassin's Blade I think was my favourite out of all of them. I just loved it so much. Heir of Fire I remember really enjoying. The rest of them kind of just merge into one for me. But to me it's in 2 parts. It's in before finding out the other name and then after finding it out, if that makes sense. But I give it all round like a 4.5 out of 5 because I don't think I ever cried in it, which is probably mental. For me, I would have liked there to be like a little bit more spice maybe, because why am in my head am I thinking there's only like 4 scenes throughout the 8 books? But I guess the acotar has more spice in it than Throne of Glass does. acotar, I'd say I'd give more of a 5 just because, as I say, like I don't remember like kind of historical political stuff as much, whereas there's a lot more of that in Throne of Glass, whereas in acotar it's a little bit more, it's a bit lighter, there's less, there are still like politics but there's less intense politics, so it was kind of easy for my brain to understand. The only one I didn't like was the novella. I just didn't really see the point of that. I need to read the Crescent City series as well. I don't really hear many people talk about it. It's not high up on my list, but it's there. I'll get round to it at some point. The most recent series that I finished was the Caraval trilogy by Stephanie Garber. I loved this. I think all of them were probably a 5-star, maybe like 4. They range between a 4.5 and a 4.75, but I just thoroughly enjoyed all 3 of them. I read them so quickly. I feel like I knew I would love it because I enjoyed the Once Upon a Broken Heart series. The last book I finished was Phantasma. It's blocking out the letter of her first name. It was a bit more of like a spooky version of Caraval, with like in terms of like the games, and I think there was like the right amount of spice, and I just thoroughly enjoyed it. I'd give it a 4-star. I wouldn't give it any higher than that, but I just think it was an all-round good book. Thoroughly enjoyed. Phantasma, it's about a girl who's got, I think it was necromancer powers, and dealing with all this responsibility, and there's like things they have to rectify that their mum kind of left to them. She goes to find her sister in this game, and it's all about like survival of the fittest basically, but she's got an advantage because of her powers, and then she falls in love, and then yeah, a lot happens and it is really good. In the middle of the Throne of Glass series, I read Reckless, which is the second book in the Powerless series. I think it's going to be a trilogy, I'm not 100% sure. I think the first 50% of this book, I honestly thought, I want to put this down, like I'm not enjoying this at all, but then the last half really saved it. I'd give the last 50% 5 stars, and I'd give the beginning 50% 3 stars. I don't know what that gives me as an all-round, but I think 4's too kind considering the first bit of the book, but then it also feels too low because the last bit of the book was so good. I don't know. And I am so excited for the next book. I don't usually remember the endings. Like I can't remember what happens at the end of Throne of Glass. Like that's awful thinking about how long I spent reading it, but I remember what happened at the end of Reckless, so that's when you know it's a good ending. So if you've read Powerless, it's kind of like a magical version of the Hunger Games, is the way a lot of people describe it. At the end of the book something happens, and she had, this main girl Payden had a love interest, and they then get turned into like sworn enemies basically at the end of the first book, and then in the second book it's all about like cat chasing mouse basically, but then trying to deny that they fancy each other. What did I read before Throne of Glass? The Fourth Wing duology. I just loved it. So Fourth Wing itself I gave 5 stars, and it's just about like uncovering this like rebellion almost that's brewing in this, it's almost like a magical boarding school, but it's like there's like this deadly trial that you have to do to get in, and I basically gave the first book 5 stars and the second book 4 stars. Again, I remember the ending, which I don't usually do, so that's when you know it's good. It's got dragons in it, and it's got like love, and it's got spice, and it's got friendship. It's just so nice. Well, nice isn't a good enough word, but it's a good book. Both of them are. In terms of recently read, like obviously I've read more books than that, but I'm not going to go back any further than that because I'll just be talking about books for the sake of it. But those are my recently read and my opinions on them. Finding time to read if you have a busy schedule. There's nothing worse than being sucked into an amazing book and you just want to read 24/7. So I've got a few different ways of how I read when I was a London girlie commuting, tired all the time. And I hope this helps. A good one would be audiobooks, and although I personally don't listen to them, it's because my mum's the main person on our Spotify account, because I would listen to audiobooks all the time, but I just don't have that on my Spotify. We're in a family one and she's got the main account. So if you were sat working and just typing or like doing a spreadsheet and you don't have to necessarily like think too hard, and I was at work, I used to listen to podcasts and stuff so that I'm like learning as I do it, and as well I think it would be a good way to get your pages in. Same if you're driving to work or getting the tube or getting the train or walking, listening to it means you're getting your pages in and you're getting through it. But also I used to walk and read, so I would have my book in my hand and nearly tripping down the stairs. And then when I had my Kindle, my life changed because I would put it on the little shelf on the Stairmaster and I just read and read and read when I'm on the Stairmaster. On Spotify, someone will have made a playlist that matches the book. They are doing God's work for us. But I put a matching playlist in, so it's songs that match the vibe of the book. And then I am walking on the Stairmaster and then I'm reading. So that's a hack that I find. If you know that you want to be doing your exercise and it's like a non-negotiable for you, but you also want to read, then if you're doing like an incline walk or you're doing the Stairmaster, then you're able to get the best of both worlds. Obviously it's different if you wanted to do like weight training, but that's when you could listen to the audiobook. I think when you're in the bath, when you're relaxing, instead of being on your phone, it's so much more beneficial to be reading. Again, it doesn't matter if you have a Kindle or a physical book for that, obviously. When you're on the move, it obviously is easier to have a Kindle because it's just... Finally, I'm going to talk about my opinion on my Kindle. So I've got the Kindle Paperwhite. I believe this is the 2021 version. They've just come out with a new version and I believe it's the 6.8 inch screen. I just got the black colour and I love it so much. My boyfriend got it for me, but my favourite thing I've ever been given, received, had, used, loved. The concept of decorating them as well is ideal. I love it so much. I designed this skin and printed it out and I also bought this sticker the other day. That's what mine currently looks like. The charge lasts ages on this. So far, I get 3 months Kindle Unlimited included from when I purchased it, and a lot of the books that I've been wanting to read were on Kindle Unlimited, so when my free trial ends at the beginning of December, I probably will purchase it for a few months until I've kind of read the ones that I'm wanting to read on there, and then unless they add new ones, then I'll probably just go back to purchasing the book separately. No matter what you read, a Kindle is just so handy, so easy. You can get the Kindle Basic and it's smaller and it will fit in your back pocket, fit in your bag, like it's just ideal. This is kind of an update on my reading journey and thank you for joining me. If you've got any favourite books that you feel like I will love, then please let me know in the comments. If you would like more reading videos from me, like reading vlogs, or I love watching like the TBR jar videos and stuff like that. If you'd like to see something like that, then please let me know. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe and check me out on my other social media platforms because I post on there almost every day. And I will see you in my next video. Bye!